Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Phone Dog Live. What is it? Episode 46? Is that what that banner just said? It is Friday, and I'm glad everyone could be here. I was getting ready for the podcast, as I always do every Friday, and I was creating the little intro that I showed just then. And anyway, so I finished it and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna save it. Then I looked at the clock and it was 4 o'clock, and I was like, oh, I guess I better start this. So I got everything together. I was only like a minute late, so I'm not even late. It's like that's not even true. So anyway, welcome to the show, and we're live on Ustream. We're on Facebook. If you would rather watch this on Facebook, if you are on Ustream, thank you for being here, and you can also watch this on YouTube. I will be posting the recording of it on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure and check out the description below the video because I have a timeline there of everything that we're going to talk about all in order, so you can just kind of like jump around. And we have a pretty busy show, and just so you know, we might go overtime. Not a lot, but there's just a lot that I want to talk about, and so we might go over the normal hour timeline, but I'm gonna try to keep everything in the hour if I can. But we might go over time. I'm having a pretty good day. I'm wearing my Wonder Woman shirt. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, Wonder Woman, and it's kind of funny because I was thinking about this as I was getting ready. For all the criticism that I get of people, complaining whenever I wear a shirt more than once, which is like apparently not what you're supposed to do. For all the criticism that I get for that, no one ever complains whenever I wear this shirt, which is kind of strange because I feel like I wear this shirt a lot because it's my favorite shirt, and so I think I wear it pretty often. But when I do wear it, no one ever complains. But whenever I wear like a blue T-shirt, people, you already wore that shirt, and I'm like, technically. A lot of the shirts that I wear, they're pretty simple. It's like a blue T-shirt or a purple T-shirt or a light blue or a light purple. Or I mean, they're like generally just solid colors. So, really I could have like multiple sets of the same shirts because they're not very unique. Whereas with this shirt, it is pretty unique. And so, but I think that's funny. No one ever complains when I wear this shirt. Maybe they like it. I don't know. I like it. That was just a pointless little side note there. So, like I said, pretty much just 4 major topics, if I'm counting correctly. We've got HTC One X, Nokia. I'm still trying to get. I did this in the dog pound this past Monday. I made the argument that I pronounced Nokia correctly, and I even had a video of a Finnish person, yes, speaking Swedish. Is that right? Anyway, or maybe I have that backwards. I probably sound like an idiot just then. But anyway, and the way that he pronounced it, I was like, boom, I'm pronouncing it right. But I noticed that sometimes I do put a little too much emphasis on the A, and I say like Nokia when it's not. It's more like Nokia, but I don't speak the language, so sometimes it's not always perfect. But anyway, Nokia Lumia 900 review. Instagram for Android came out, and so it was like the apocalypse on Twitter. Everybody was tweeting just all these Instagram pictures. Evo 4G LTE was just announced, but the thing that we're going to start with first is more important than all of those things. This week, we had a special interview with Martin Cooper, who is the inventor of the cell phone. He was on the team in the Motorola team in 1973 that invented the very first commercially available smartphone. Obviously, the technology had been around and it was being used by certain organizations and corporations, but in terms of like one that's commercially available, he invented the very first one. And so we sat down. He was kind enough to give us about 30 minutes so we could have an interview over Skype. And I asked him, a couple of questions that you guys had submitted over YouTube and on phonedog.com. I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask him. We talked about the first cell phone, what inspired him to create it, what he thinks about the mobile market today, the spectrum crunch, and all kinds of topics. And so it's up on YouTube right now. It's on our YouTube channel. You can watch the whole thing. It's about 30 minutes long. So it's kind of a long interview, but it's very, very interesting. However, if you don't have 30 minutes, I don't know, if you don't have 30 minutes or you don't want to watch the whole thing, I thought it would be nice to kind of give you guys a shortened version of the interview. And I told you guys that I was going to air segments of it. And so I've taken the 30-minute interview, I've cut it down to, it's about 10 minutes long, just to give you guys some highlights of that interview. So here's that clip. Martin Cooper, the inventor of the cell phone, he's actually very cool and very interesting. But anyway, this is it. These are the highlights from that interview. So Marty, can we start by talking about that first cell phone? A lot of our viewers wanted to know what inspired you and your team to create it. So could you talk a little bit about that, and then, just tell us about the phone itself?
Sure. The genesis of that phone was, interestingly enough, a battle that was going on, because that cellular, the idea of cellular, was created by Bell Laboratories, which was a part of AT&T in the old days, and that's a different AT&T than we have today. That AT&T was the largest company in the world by every measure, number of people, revenues, everything, and they had a monopoly on the telephone service. And they invented this thing called cellular, and then around the late 1960s, they said, we want to commercialize this. And among the attributes of their dream was that this was going to be a monopoly. They were going to be the only carrier. And the second thing is, their idea of what cellular was car telephones. And I was at Motorola at the time, and we were or at least I was running a portable business. We believed that people really wanted the freedom to be everywhere when they communicated. We actually built a cell phone and the system that supported it, and we took it to New York, took it to Washington, to show it to our legislators and to the FCC to prove that not only could portables be done, but it didn't have to be AT&T that did it. And that was why we built that phone.
So like I mentioned, before we started, we have some questions from our viewers. Here's one from Adrian about that first cell phone. This is kind of an interesting question. He wanted to know why the phones were so big.
Oh, well, it's hard to describe to people what the technology was like back in 1903. But there were, number one, there were no personal computers, never mind cell phones. There were no large-scale integrated circuits. These chips that we have in the cell phone and in your computer, well, they just didn't have that. They were just starting to make integrated circuits at that time. So we had to build that cell phone with lots of hundreds, actually a couple of thousand individual parts, and squeeze all those parts into a box. And when my team actually designed the phone, it was a little phone about this big that probably could have been used as a cell phone today. And then we took it to the engineers who had to put all those thousands apart, and this phone just grew and grew and grew, and it ended up weighing 2.5 pounds, full of all kinds of parts. But it was 10 inches high, and as I say, weighed 2.5 pounds. The battery life was 20 minutes.
Wow!
But that wasn't. You couldn't hold it up for 20 minutes. It was so heavy.
So again, a lot of our viewers wanted to know what phone you currently use now. Obviously, you're considered to be an authority on mobile technology. So one from Cameron is, what phone do you currently have, and how often do you get a new phone?
Well, I'll answer the second part first.
Okay.
I'm a gadget freak, probably just like you are, Sydney. So I get a new phone every time there's one that has features that I think are different enough. So my latest phone, which I have in front of me, which I know you've probably reviewed this, but it's a Razer, Android Razer.
So what made you pick Android?
Oh, as I say, I tried everything. I had one of the iPhones, which I gave to my grandson. But the challenge has been for Android to catch up to iPhone, and I think they're very close right now.
What do you think about Windows Phone?
The first I've actually been trying to get one, and I've been actually waiting for a combination that had everything. Because up till now, I really haven't had a Windows phone that was the latest. So as soon as this Nokia phone comes, I'm going to look at it. But the first signs that I've seen are very positive. It looks like it has a more forgiving user interface than Android. Android is really a techie kind of. Most computers and cell phones today really are designed with a principle that's exactly the opposite of what I think. Namely, instead of trying to make these things intuitive, they're trying to turn us all into engineers.
Yeah.
They make super flexible and they give you all kinds of options. And that's okay if you're a techie, but it's one of the things that Steve Jobs tried to do, although it wasn't totally effective, and that is he wanted to make the decisions and tell us what we needed. And sometimes that's the right approach.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question from Peter, I believe is the way you pronounce his name, but his question is about all of the patent wars that we see today. What's your opinion on that, especially some of the non-vital ones like slide to unlock, something that's not really essential? Do you feel like that could harm the consumer in terms of competition, or what do you think about that?
Well, Peter's making an interesting point. The patent system is important because it allows people to invest lots of money in the hope that they'll get a return from it. But he's right. We've gone a little bit too far, and people are starting to patent things that really were not either inspirational or cost a lot of money to create, and they're just using to block other people from using technology. And so we've got a problem, and that problem has to be worked out. And I hope that it gets resolved by people loosening up on their licensing policies. And that is, of course, the solution. The worst thing that could happen is for somebody to have a patent and have people just prohibited from using it.
Yeah.
But if, in fact, they license it and their license fees are reasonable, then the patent thing is not a problem.
Now, I wanted to talk about something that you're very passionate about. You're on the FCC's Spectrum Advisory Committee, and you've talked a lot about this so-called spectrum crunch that many people are claiming that we're in. The carriers are talking about it. Do you actually think this is a legitimate problem? Will we run out of spectrum in the future?
Well, I'll give you the short answers first.
Okay.
I hope I'm not talking too much on all these issues, Sydney. But is it a legitimate problem? Yes. Is there a shortage? Is there a scarcity? No, there's not. We've never run out of spectrum. Every time we think of something interesting we want to do with the spectrum, they always find more spectrum. And the reason is that somehow or other, every time we need more spectrum, we literally create new spectrum using technology. Since the creation of radio, which was maybe 110 years ago, every time we've needed more spectrum, we've applied some new technology and we have doubled the capacity of the spectrum, the amount of information that we can put through the spectrum every 2.5 years. And if you work that out in your head over 100 years, that's 1 trillion times more spectrum.
Wow.
So that's what we've done in the past. Well, there's enough technology available that we know about already that we could do that for another 50 or 60 years and maybe indefinitely. And so at some point, the operators will have to adopt new technology. Just think about it. There is no additional spectrum. All we can do is increase the capacity. So at some point, they can try taking spectrum away from the Army, from the police services. At some point, there won't be anything left, and they're going to have to adopt a new technology.
Yeah.
And we already know what that is. And interestingly enough, that technology actually saves not only us money, but the carriers as well. So that's how the spectrum crunch is going to get solved. It's not going to be solved by redistributing the spectrum. It's going to be solved by adopting new technology.
Well, Marty, thank you very much for joining us for this interview. I'm sure our viewers will appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. You have a Twitter account, right?
Oh, I'm Marty Mobile, Marty Mobile.
Okay, nice. So there it is. That's the interview. That's 10 seconds, or 10 seconds, 10 minutes of it, and tried to get all the important parts, some of the highlights. But we talked for a lot longer and kind of elaborated on some of those topics. Whenever we were talking about the Spectrum Crunch, he mentioned, I left in that part where he mentioned some of the new technologies, and so he kind of elaborated on that. And there was a couple of other questions that I had to cut out. So if you want to watch the whole thing, it is up on our YouTube channel, and so you can watch it there. And it was great. So I do really appreciate him joining us for that, and hopefully we'll have maybe more interviews in the future. We do have some other guests planned for Phone Dog Live. But anyway, watch that on phonedog.com, and let's move on now to HTC One X. Actually, just a lot of big phones. We have the HTC One X, HTC One S, and the Nokia Lumia 900. And we're going to start with the One X, and we're probably not going to get to the One S. But there is a video review up on phonedog.com. But since the One X is better, I want to talk about that one. First of all, I talk about, obviously, it's a great phone. It's got a quad-core processor, giant, huge display. It's got all of the specs and all of the hardware to make it a great phone, and that's really good. We've had a lot of great phones in the past, especially from HTC, and I talk about them and we gush about them on the show or on Twitter, and we talk about how great of a phone it is. But the HTC One X, whoa, okay. I watched, Aaron is the one that did the review, so obviously I don't have the phone, but I watched Aaron's review, and as soon as it started, with him, holding the phone on camera, the first thing I noticed was the display. And I've said this before, I love beautiful displays. Something about it, it's a phone can be great, it can be fast, the OS can be very well designed, but whenever you've got a great looking display, it just adds that extra oomph that just makes it that much cooler and that much more fun to use. So whenever the review started, that was the first thing I noticed. This display is freaking amazing. It was okay, mind blown. That's what happened. But not literally, because obviously my mind, it's still inside. But the display is amazing, and it's, I believe, Super LCD display. No, it's not. You know what? I really should check the spec sheet instead of just making up a bunch of crap with what I think it is. HTC One X has a, Super LCD display. 4.7 inch. It has basically everything. Super LCD, HD resolution, 1280 by 720, and it's pretty big, 4.7 inches. Not only that, but the screen itself actually curves. The edges are curved, and so they kind of just form into the edges of the hardware and into the bezel. And we've seen this before on other phones, so it's not like this is a first, but it looks great, and it's just, it has all of these other great things that we've seen in the past, but all together. We've seen curved displays, we've seen HD displays, we've seen Super LCD displays, we've seen huge displays, but the HTC One X brings it all together, and it is the best looking display I have ever seen, okay? And this is really saying something, because I typically really enjoy AMOLED displays. Super AMOLED Plus. I love the color saturation. I know it's not accurate in terms of your realistic colors of what it's actually supposed to look like, but I love the color saturation because it's bright, it pops, it's really beautiful. Super LCD to me is kind of more it gives you clarity, but it's that's really it. It doesn't add anything. But for some reason, this one, and maybe it's because, on top of the Super LCD, it's also HD resolution, so it's it's like a clear display technology with a clear display. I don't know, maybe that's what it is. But literally the display is like freaking, I can't even think of a word other than amazing. In my notes, I have amazing in all caps with 4 exclamation marks. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to convey to you with verbal words. But it looks like a printed sheet of paper, or a printed, graphic, but really shiny, really glossy. And that's the other thing. It's very glossy, and I don't know, that may cause problems in terms of like being outside or the reflection. I don't know, but I mean, it didn't seem like it in the video review. The viewing angle is literally like, you can hold, I almost said amazing again. You can hold the phone just like this and still see the display. Not that you would ever need to be able to do that. That's like the dumbest feature ever, but it's just another one of those cool things. But literally, it's like graphically it looks amazing, and then physically it also looks amazing because of the way that it curves into the bezel. That was the first thing I noticed. The display is like, it's gorgeous. Okay, the hardware also looks great. It's not very what's the word? It's not very inspiring. It's thin. It has like kind of a soft touch coating, it seems like, but it's all one color. Curved edges. I mean, it's great hardware. It looks like a nice phone, but it's not like, to bring it up, the iPhone, which I have said is the best looking phone. It's not like the iPhone where there's several design elements that come together perfectly, or even like other HTC phones, or like the recently announced HTC Evo 1. That has several design elements that come together perfectly. The One X, it looks great, but it's just like one slab of and that's it. That's like one color, which is not necessarily a bad thing because, Nokia Lumia 900 is basically the same thing and it looks great. So, I don't know, maybe that's just me. But the overall hardware design, very thin. It looks very sleek, but it's just not flashy or anything. But the display, it's gorgeous. I mean, you have to see it, okay? Android 4.0 with Sense 4. Now, I'm not a big Sense fan, so I'm just going to let you know about that. I don't entirely like Sense. My favorite Android UI is probably TouchWiz, and I've loved TouchWiz ever since, when everyone hated it. So now everyone likes it, but I liked it back when everyone hated it. So I like the colorful kind of cartoonish aspect of it, and now it's a lot more refined, and it's not really like that at all. But TouchWiz is really one of my favorites. Sense I don't really like, and I think with Sense 4, it just got worse. It just got worse to me. It's heavy and it's very bulky. Like, it's shiny and they add some nice gradients and colors, but it's very bulky. The shapes are big, the widgets are big, the icon, everything about it seems bulky and it's very heavy. And so, which is like fine if you love Sense. And then it's great, the fact that it infiltrates like every aspect of Android, that's great. But for me, like, I don't like Sense, so the fact that it does infiltrate everything, it's like, yeah, just get away from me. So, I don't like Sense. If you do, then this obviously isn't a problem. I don't like the accordion effect whenever you're scrolling and you've got like kinetic scrolling, when you get to the bottom of whatever it is, the list, and it's got this accordion effect where like the icon or the different list items, they kind of like separate from each other. I think that's really cheesy and dumb. I don't like that. Also, this is kind of something that I was listening to the Verge podcast, and they were talking about the lack of a menu button, which is actually, this could potentially be a problem with a lot of ice cream sandwich devices because Android developers are still, well, a lot of Android apps, actually probably all of them, if not, 90% of them, are developed with Android 2.3 in mind, or, just not Ice Cream Sandwich. And so, as you know, Ice Cream Sandwich, the phones themselves will not have a menu button. And so, like, when you're using a phone that shipped with Android 2.3, and then it gets updated to Ice Cream Sandwich, Like, it's okay because you still have the capacitive buttons with the menu button, so when you're in an app and you need menu, you just push the menu button and it brings up the menu. Well, with Ice Cream Sandwich phones that, ship with that out of the box, they don't have the menu button. And so for apps that, where you will need the menu button, it's kind of like, HTC or whoever makes the phone has to like figure out a way to give you a menu button. And we've seen this before with the three dots, where the three dots will come up, and that's an Ice Cream Sandwich thing. But when you're using an app, it like HTC, like just a black bar will come up at the top or at the bottom. It's just a black bar with three random dots, and like that's your designated menu button for the couple minutes that you're using the app, and then it goes away. It's kind of inconsistent. It's a little clunky. You can tell you like they're making this transition to Ice Cream Sandwich, and developers are going to have to work with that. That's kind of one thing that's not really HTC's fault, but it is one thing you're going to notice with the One X, since it is an Ice Cream Sandwich device. You can watch Aaron's review, and there's so much more to talk about that I, can't even talk about right now. But overall, Ice Cream Sandwich, I love stock Ice Cream Sandwich. I've said before that it's really what Android needs to be right now. Like, it would have been nice if it was like this for the past, 3 years. But it's like this now. It has great design elements. It doesn't look so much like a beta OS like all the other versions did. It's a very, very nice looking version of Android. And so I like stock Ice Cream Sandwich. I just don't like HTC Sense. And I know that I can download a launcher, like whatever, Launcher Pro 80W. But, the problem with that is that it only affects so much of the phone. Like, you can change the home screen, perhaps the app launcher, the notification panel. There's a couple of things that you can customize with a launcher, but for like 80% of the phone, you're still left with whatever UI the phone shipped with. And so, I know I can do that, but at some point, not even really digging that deep, you're still going to notice HTC Sense. So that's, overall, like the hardware is great, and that display is like, it's amazing. It's amazing, and I can't explain it any other way than that, so you can watch the review. Speaking of which, Cameron from Today's iPhone wrote a very interesting article on Today's iPhone, coincidentally enough, and he was talking about how he saw the HTC One X. He went into a store and, got some hands-on time with it, took a look at it, and this article, the title is HTC One X gives me hope for iPhone's future, but it also annoys him. And this is kind of interesting, and it's an angle that I didn't really think about, probably because I'm not an iPhone user, and Cameron is, but basically saying, okay, the HTC One X, it has a 4-inch display, actually 4.7-inch display. It's a beautiful display. It has a larger battery. It's LTE. And it's all in a package that's actually thinner than, the iPhone. And so his question is, why couldn't Apple do this? A lot of Apple fans have been complaining for a long time that they want a larger display. And it's not a knock on the iPhone. I mean, the iPhone is still a great phone, even with the small display. But, it just needs a larger display. And I think like 90% of iPhone users will admit that. It's not even like, you don't even have to be a fanboy, an Android fanboy, to say that the iPhone's display is ridiculously small. Okay, it's just ridiculously, blah, 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 blah. It's ridiculously small. Try saying that 5 times fast. Anyway, so, and to see phones nowadays, whereas before Apple was like, well, we can't do it because it would make the phone thicker, or we will need a bigger battery, or it's impossible. Like, we would come up with all of these excuses for why the iPhone couldn't have a larger display, and whatever, if you were okay with it or not, you just accepted it, or maybe you didn't accept it. But now it's like, okay, Apple, we have phones with huge displays, great batteries, all this other crap, and they're really thin, so what's the holdup? I mean, what do you, like, now it's gotten to the point where Apple just doesn't want to. Okay, now there's not even any excuses. It's just like Apple doesn't want to. Now, the iPhone 5, 6, whatever the crap they're going to call it, may come out and have like a 4-inch display, and so everything would be fine. We'd be like, okay, it took you a while, but good. At least you're recognizing it. But if the iPhone 5, 6, whatever the crap they call it, comes out with a 3.5-inch display, you know, like it is now, like, whoa, what would happen? It would be, you know, Apple apocalypse, I think. I think it would be Apple. I mean, you know, Cameron, he was already talking about how he's seriously thinking about selling his iPhone to get the HTC One X. And so, you know, and he may decide to wait. I don't know. He may decide to wait for the iPhone 5, 6, whatever the crap they call it. But, you know, people who do wait, assuming, like, of course Apple is going to put a 4-inch display on it. Why would they not? It would be dumb. And then they don't. It's a 3.5-inch display. I would like to see what happens then. Anyway, HTC One X it's the bomb diggity. That's what it is. Boom. I said it. I brought back that term from the 90s. Actually, that wasn't in the 90s. That was early 2000s, I think. HTC One S, also great, but obviously the One X is better. So here's the interesting comparison from the HTC One X, moving on to the Nokia Lumia 900. The HTC One X is obviously, I would say, the best Android phone on the market. Now, it's not available in the US, but it's, you know, available worldwide. And I would venture to say that it's the best Android phone on the market. The Nokia Lumia 900 is arguably the best Windows Phone device on the market. You know, and this is like comes with a few caveats because like most Windows Phone devices are the same. I mean, they have pretty much the same processor. You know, Microsoft is very strict with hardware requirements. So in a lot of ways, Windows Phone devices are all the same. So I don't know if like even the best Windows Phone device is really that much better than like the second best. But you know, whatever, the Lumia 900 is the best Windows Phone device on the market. So, you know, here's a kind of an interesting question. Is the Lumia 900 enough to really catapult Windows Phone into the minds of mainstream consumers? Because obviously that's what Microsoft is trying to do. That's what Nokia wants to do. That's what Windows Phone fans want, and that's what we've talked about. And I've talked about this, and I've said it as kind of as like it's a given. Like, yeah, of course, the Lumia 900 is one of the best phones that we've ever seen. You know, I mean, you can talk about how well it doesn't have a dual core processor, but I mean, like Windows Phone, it perform in terms of performance with a single core processor, it's equal to an Android phone with a dual core processor. So like, you know, the specs, like that's not really a fair battle, but just overall, does it really have enough? And I've, like I said, kind of said this as a given, like, yes, of course, it's one of the best phones we've ever seen. But now that the HTC One X has come out and I'm seeing its display and its camera and, you know, and data speeds and all this, I'm starting to get a little shaky on my previous hypothesis, or what's the word I'm looking for? You know, like when you guessed something, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Prediction. Yes. I'm starting to get a little shaky on my prediction. Like, what's new? I'm always wrong with my predictions. So, you know, like I said, Lumia 900, easily the best Windows Phone device on the market, and it can compete, I think it can compete with most of the high-end Android phones on the market. You know, the ones with dual-core processors, LTE connectivity, you know, great cameras, all the best of the best. I think I can compete with those. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to choose between Android and Windows Phone, and not everyone likes Windows Phone, but I mean, not everyone likes Android, so it's, you know, kind of either or there. But in terms of just, like, straight up, which phone is better, I think I can compete with a lot of those phones, like the Razer Max, or, like, what other phones do we have? The Sensation, the Note, Galaxy S2. I think I can compete with those very equally. However, with the One X, absolutely not. No way. The One X blows a Lumia 900 like out of the water. And before you jump on me, I love Windows Phone. I use it as my my personal phone is a Windows Phone device, so I'm not like just bashing Windows Phone for no reason. I have experience with it, and I can tell you the One X blows the Lumia 900 out of the water. First of all, the display can't compete. I already talked about that extensively, how it was, what did I say, the bomb diggity? It's friggin' amazing. The Lumia 900 also has a great display, AMOLED, clear black technology. It's not a bad display. It's a great looking display. And if it were not for the One X, it would probably be, great, and we wouldn't think anything of it. But now that we have the One X, it's like, wow, this is kind of like okay. And then also camera. The One X, HTC has put a lot into both of these cameras on the One X and the One S. I believe they're actually the same camera. Great cameras, 1080p HD video capture, and you can check out the video samples that Aaron has uploaded, and it looks great. The Lumia 900, it just can't compete. The video is slightly grainy. It's kind of soft around the edges of objects. It has autofocus, continuous autofocus while you're filming, but it takes too long to focus. And this is one thing that I noticed in Aaron's sample video that he uploaded. It starts off very blurry, and you're like, what the heck, why is this blurry? It's because it happened to be blurry when he started recording, and it takes so long to autofocus that you're like, okay, autofocus. And I noticed that with, several other samples that I watched on YouTube. So a camera, it can't really compete. So yeah, HTC One X blows the Lumia 900 out of the water, and whenever we start seeing more Android devices like the One X with quad-core processors and these great cameras that are just getting better and better, and these HD displays, yeah, Windows Phone, it can't compete. And this is the story with Windows Phone. It's always behind, and it's, being somebody who enjoys Windows Phone and wants it to succeed desperately. It's kind of frustrating because I feel like I stick up for it whenever it's reasonable. Obviously, if a phone is just flat out better than a Windows Phone device, I'm going to say it because I have to be unbiased. It's part of my job. But when I can inform people of what Windows Phone is like and what it's not like, I try to stick up for it when I can, but it's constantly behind. And when Windows Phone 8 comes out, yeah, it will support dual-core processors and 1080p HD video capture, but by that time, Android phones are going to be having quad-core processors and HD displays, and so, you kind of wonder, like, can Windows Phone ever just catch up and keep up, or is it always going to be kind of that OS that's really nice, but, just doesn't have the best phones? And that's kind of what WebOS was for a long time, and, we saw how that turned out. That being said, look, I love Windows Phone, and I hope Microsoft does what it needs to do. And but a lot of people, Joshua Topolsky wrote his Lumia 900 review on The Verge, and a lot of people complained about it and said that he was biased and he was just talking all this trash about the OS and basically just said he was biased. That review was not biased. I'm just gonna say that. And I'm sticking up for him, not that he needs me to stick up for him, but I'm saying that because it's really frustrating when, as a reviewer, you get called biased by somebody who has used like one phone, or whatever, has used 5 phones, or even if you've used 10 phones, okay? If you have used 20 phones, which is a lot for one person, and I seriously doubt that the average, commenter on a technology blog has used 20 phones, but even if you have, I've still used more phones than you, okay? So I think I have the right to talk negatively about certain aspects of a phone. So anyway, I know how frustrating it is, and so I want to tell you guys that review was not biased. Some people don't like Windows Phone, and he pointed out some things that are valid arguments. Multitasking, it's not real multitasking, and I will readily admit that. I'm okay with that because as long as I can have Slacker radio playing in the background or easily switch between tasks, even if it's not running in the background, even if I can just easily switch, I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's not real multitasking. Twitter, there are some great Twitter clients, but even then they don't compete with the Twitter clients on Android or iOS. The YouTube app is not an app. It takes you to the mobile page, which is dumb. In the app selection, while I don't have a problem with it, it doesn't have as many apps as Android or iOS, and so yeah, that's a problem. And these are valid concerns that he brought out, and which is another reason, some other areas where Windows Phone needs to improve, and quickly. That's the key. Quickly, that it needs to quickly, fix these problems before it gets too far behind. It's already behind, but it needs to quickly fix these problems. That being said, I still would love to have the Lumia 900. Being a Windows Phone user, I'd love to have the Lumia 900. Aaron is actually using the Lumia 900 as part of a 30-day challenge, and this is going to be interesting because he uses an iPhone as his daily driver and then primarily tests Android phones, and so that's what he uses on a daily basis. And while he's done reviews on Windows Phone devices, he hasn't used one for an extended period of time. So this is going to be interesting. Someone coming from Android and from iOS, what is it going to be like using Windows Phone for 30 days? And maybe that will tell us a lot about, can Windows Phone compete with phones like the HTC One X? Because he has the One X. He did a review on it. So that's the Nokia Lumia 900 challenge. Stay updated on that on phonedog.com. It's like I said in the beginning, we probably are going to go overtime. On Ustream, there's a commenter that brought out that Windows Phone has a poor notification system. Would you care to elaborate on that? Because I don't necessarily know if I agree with that Windows Phone has a poor notification system. Do you have a Windows Phone device, or was that just from watching a video or something? You do what? I have the Quantum. Oh, okay. What's your problems with the notification system? It's kind of similar to Android and iOS, but then at the same time has its own, style, I guess, to it. But that's kind of interesting. I've never actually heard somebody complain about it. If I don't have the message tile... Oh, if you don't have the message tile, then the notification goes away and never shows up. Okay, I guess I never thought about that because I figure most people do have a message tile, but I guess that's a good point, because even on Android, if you don't have a messaging shortcut, it's still in a notification bar. Okay, that's a good point. I never thought about that, probably just because I personally do have the messaging tile. Yeah, that is kind of one frustration with the notification system, is that you have the pop-up notifications called toast notifications, and they do pop up and you can easily select it and it'll take you to the app, but it does go away, and I agree. I wish it would stay there. I think they're probably going too hard on the minimalistic aspect of the OS, and so they're like, just make it go away. We don't need that notification. But I'm like, no, I would like to have the notification. I saw somebody with a very, very interesting suggestion to swipe over and then it would have your list of notifications. And I think that's a fantastic idea. And if you think about it, if anyone has used the Zune HD, if you're one of the two people that had one of those, I'm one of the two people that had one of those. The Zune HD was kind of like Microsoft's test with Windows Phone, because it was basically Windows Phone before Windows Phone was, Windows Phone. And it was kind of like their test to see how it would work. So it had a lot of those elements, but it was still kind of a work in progress. But with that, you had the main home menu, and it kind of looked like this, but a little bit different. But you could also swipe over and see, things that you had pinned to the screen. And it wasn't notifications, but it was still an option to swipe over. And so I think they could bring back that idea and just have your list of notifications. I think that would be an awesome idea. Anyway, enough with Windows Phone. We're going to move on now. Yes, we are going to get to the open Q&A, but I want to talk about a couple of things first. And so it's going to be a little bit longer than what it usually is. Instagram for Android is available now, and everyone's been downloading it. I think it came out just a couple of days ago, and hundreds of thousands of people have already downloaded it. Let me see where it's at right now. I downloaded it because, I had to. 1 million downloads, and it was April 6th. So April 6th was, no, that's today. Today is April 6th. Okay, nice. Well, it came out a couple of days ago, and it's already at 1 million downloads. And so Twitter, like, went crazy when it was available. It was like all of a sudden there was just, my entire timeline was just people posting Instagram pictures taken with their Android phones. It was crazy, and I did it too because, you know, I had to. But I don't like Instagram, and I just want to go on like a little mini rant. I'm not going to take too long because I know that, you know, we probably want to get on to the open Q&A. But I don't like Instagram, and now that it's available on Android, like, it's even worse. It's going to be in even more hands of users. And these are my two problems with Instagram, and they're kind of like both linked. First of all, it's overused. It is way overused. And it's like people use it. I'm actually not blushing. I'm just really hot. It just got really hot in here because I have these lights on me. You know, I have the studio lights on me for keeping the lighting all great and everything. And after an hour, it just starts getting really hot. Anyway, it's overused. And so I see all these pictures posted on Twitter of like somebody's shoe, okay, with some crazy Instagram filter. And they're like, look at my shoe. And I'm like, if you weren't using Instagram and you hadn't added that filter, would you have posted that random picture of your shoe? Probably not, okay? It is way overused. Second of all, people, because they have these super awesome artistic filters, people now think that they're professional photographers, and so they post these stupid random pictures of their shoe or a lawn chair from some random angle, and, you know, 45-degree angle, and add a filter, and they post it on Twitter or Flickster or wherever. Not Flickster. I can't think of what I'm trying to think of. But anyway, they post it on Twitter, and it's like nothing, okay? It's your shoe or a lawn chair. So obviously there was no purpose to this in terms of like delivering information. It is simply to show me how talented you are with taking pictures and adding a filter, which, incidentally enough, requires absolutely no talent at all. And it is so annoying to me that people just like all the time post these pictures of nothing using Instagram, and now all of a sudden I care and it's art. And so that's my problem with Instagram. You know, after all of the advancements that we have made in photography to make pictures look great, and as much money as manufacturers, camera makers, and phone makers spend trying to create cameras that take excellent photos, we are now intentionally ruining them with these old-fashioned filters. And I'm just like, what a waste of a camera. Why did you even buy the iPhone if you're just going to ruin your pictures? I'm going to stop now. I'm done with that. But Instagram is now available. That was the basic gist of that. One last thing. Flickr, that's what I meant, Flickr. Flickster is an app to see movies, showtimes, and stuff. Anyway, last thing, although I did want to talk about Project Glass by Google, but we won't have time to get on to that. I just want to tell you guys about the Evo 4G LTE. I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the Evo, or not, the HTC One X and its hardware, how it was kind of bland. The Evo 4G LTE's hardware is like gorgeous. In fact, I have a picture that I can show you guys. This is a picture of the front, but I'm going to show you guys a picture of the back because that's the part that really matters, because it's the really pretty part. So it's the Evo 4G LTE, and you might be able to tell from this picture, the top of it is glossy. So this top where the camera is, that's glossy black, and then the bottom of it has a matte finish, and then you have the red accent with the kickstand. This picture really does not do it justice, but this phone is absolutely gorgeous. It's gorgeous, okay? It's extremely thin, and then on the edges, you also can't tell from this picture. I'm going to take that picture away because it's a bad picture. So it's one piece of aluminum, or is it aluminum or polycarbonate? A lot of people, I think it's polycarbonate. It's one piece of polycarbonate, but then the edges, they have, cut or sanded to have sort of like an aluminum texture to them. but it's still just one piece. It's not an edge or a bezel. It's all one piece, but they've cut it to make it look kind of metallic. It's a very gorgeous phone, and that picture did not do it justice. It's extremely thin. I don't have the exact measurement, but overall, great phone. 1.5 gigahertz dual core Snapdragon S4 processor. You're getting an 8 megapixel camera, f2.0 lens. I'm not really sure of the right way to say that. Front-facing camera, 4.7 inch Super LCD display. Again, HD resolution. So very similar to the HTC One X. And in all actuality, this will probably be more like the US version of the One X, because the international version of the One X has a quad-core processor, but when it comes to the US, and carriers like AT&T and T-Mobile have to make it work with the spectrum that they have, they're probably going to take it down to a dual-core processor. So this, actually, the Evo 4G LTE will probably be a lot like the US version of the One X. But anyway, HD Voice also. Sprint says that it will begin rolling out a nationwide HD Voice network in late 2012. So you won't be able to take advantage of that yet, but you will have better call quality. Great phone. $199, pre-order it on May 7th. My problem with it is, and this show is full of rants, and I am extremely sorry for it if you do not like rants, but I have to say it. HTC Evo 4G LTE. What the heck kind of name is that? Okay, it's a great name. It embodies everything that the phone is. It's an Evo, and it's a 4G LTE device. Great. Except the original Evo was also called the Evo 4G LTE, the Evo 4G. So you went from the Evo 4G to the Evo 4G LTE. You're adding one little simple tiny phrase that most people are going to forget and don't even know what it means. When in reality, these phones are completely different. You're going from, single core processor, WiMAX, big display, but not really impressive in every other way, Android 2.1 or whatever. I mean, a great phone at the time, but like 2 years ago, okay, to now, like dual core processor, amazing camera, HD display. There are so many things about this phone. It is not a minor upgrade. It is a ginormous upgrade, okay? Whenever Samsung went from the Galaxy S2 or the Galaxy S to the Galaxy S 4G, it was okay because the only difference was 4G. So it was like, okay, it's basically like a Galaxy S with 4G. So it was okay, the name. But the Evo 4G LTE is not just an Evo 4G with LTE. It's a freaking new phone with new technology. I mean, this is the worst name. And I mean, like, okay, it's not a terrible name, but in terms of, like, marketing and trying to get across to consumers how great the phone is, it's a bad name. And I completely agree with keeping the Evo name. I don't think they should have gotten rid of that at all. Like, Evo, great, keep that. But, like, Evo something, Evo 1 was what we heard originally. That was a rumored name. Evo 1 I thought was great because you're like, oh, it's the US version of the One X. I mean, it makes sense. Or Evo X, like, whatever. I mean, I just think it's a terrible name for what the phone is, and I think the average consumer is going to get so confused. They're going to walk in and, they're going to hear, like, Evo 4G, and they're like, I already have an Evo, why would I want to buy that again 2 years later? And then, like, they'll see it, and they'll be like, okay, so is this just, like, a minor upgrade? I mean, I think it's going to be just really bad for consumers. That being said, it's a great phone. I'm not knocking on the phone. The phone is great. Like, it's totally amazing. If you're on Sprint, buy the Evo 4G LTE, unless you want to wait for, like, the One X or something. But totally awesome phone, but the name is awful. We have a hands-on video with it, and we have a gallery, so you can check that out. That's all I have to talk about. That's all I wanted to say. And it was a lot of rants. I apologize for that. But I just wanted to get my words out there. That's a different, that's one of the advantages that I have. I have a forum for venting my anger. Not anger, just, frustration. Anyway, so we can move on to the open Q&A. I'll keep it at 15 minutes. It's about 4:55 right now, so it'll still be 15 minutes, don't worry. Anyway, I'm on Ustream. I'm also on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, leave your comments, and I do read those. I try to answer the ones that I can. Okay, let me figure out again on Facebook how to get to Ustream, because Facebook, like, got all changed. Our Facebook page is, like, all different now. I'm trying to figure out, how do I get to the Ustream? Oh, wait, come back. That little panel. Where did you go? There you go. Timeline. Ustream. Okay. I have to figure this out, like, every week. I never use Facebook, so that's why I'm just like, where's the button? Okay. Ustream questions. Ask me a question. Would you prefer a better display over a better frame rate? Good question. I mean, I do want transitions to be smooth when I'm watching a video. I want it to be able to handle an HD video. So I guess the frame rate would be really important. But, I mean, honestly, if a phone has an amazing HD display, then chances are it's also a pretty good phone overall. So performance is going to be fine. So I don't think we would ever really have to pick. But that's a good question. Sydney, would you use a pair of Google Glasses? Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't have time. The Google Glasses thing. So, yeah, my thing with that is that's totally awesome. Love the idea. Except it would only work if, like, everybody used it. Because otherwise, I would be, like, one person at the store, the only person with these weird... I'll show you guys the picture. With these weird glasses... And, you know, they're not, like, huge, you know, they're not, like, bulky, but they are there, and you see them. And so, if everybody didn't use these and it was just me walking around, it would be a little awkward. I mean, it would take a great deal of self-confidence to walk around with the glasses if no one else wore them. That being said, if it were popular... and, like, people wouldn't laugh at me, I mean, yeah, I would love to use that. I think there's still some quirks that they need to work out, obviously. But, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Can you get sued if you leak a phone? You know, I really don't know. Most people that send leaks, they do it, like, anonymously, because I know they can get fired. But I don't think we can get sued if we leak a phone. Wait, does this start at 4 or 5 Central Time? It starts at 4 Central Time, 5 Eastern Time. I came an hour late. I'm sorry. But you can watch the recording. I'm going to post it on YouTube tomorrow, so you can watch it there. What do you predict will happen with the future BlackBerry phones? That's a good question. You know, I love what we've seen from BlackBerry 10 so far. I think it looks excellent. Now, obviously, we haven't seen that much. We've only seen like 3 or 4 pictures. But from what I've seen, it looks really good. And so that gives me a lot of hope. I think that if everything that we haven't seen of the OS is as good as what we have seen, then it definitely holds a lot of promise. The next key would be hardware. You know, can they compete in terms of hardware? And so that's, you know, I can't really answer that. I don't know. But from what I have seen, it looks good. Would you buy the Lumia 900 or the Evo 4G LTE? Well, that's really personal preference. I think I'm going to say that the Evo 4G LTE probably has a better camera, larger display. It's an HD display. So in those areas, definitely better than the Lumia 900. But if you prefer Windows Phone, then, you know, go with the Windows Phone device. If you prefer Android, go with the Android device. Sydney, what if I don't work for the company and I happen to have it? Can I get sued for that still? I really don't know. I'm only going by my guesses. Like, people leak devices all the time, and I've never seen somebody get sued for that. Like I said, they do it anonymously just so they don't get in trouble or get fired or whatever. But that's just my guess. I really don't know. So you probably want to ask somebody else about that. This is for 100 respect points, Sydney. Target or Walmart? I shop at Walmart because it's cheaper and they have everything I need, and there's one, like, right around the corner. I've shopped at Target before, and I don't see anything essentially wrong with it. I just, you know, Walmart has everything, and it's so cheap. And I know Walmart is evil, and they do all these very inhumane practices, but, I mean, if I were a millionaire, yeah, I would probably shop somewhere else, but I'm not a millionaire. I can't afford to, pay 3 times as much for something else just because of their business practices. While I don't like it, I got bills to pay. So, um, when will the Apollo update be out for Windows Phone? I don't think we really know. I think the guess or the rumors that we've heard are towards the end of the year, if I'm correct on that. Let me see if I have anything about that. Yeah, we don't really know, but I think the rumors we've heard are like towards the end of the year. Need to make that bigger. So we're going to finish at 5:10. That'll be 15 minutes for an open Q&A. When will you do more reviews? I will do more reviews when I get a phone. I do, Aaron sends me a phone and I review it, and that's pretty much it. What do you want to see in the future of Windows Phone OS? Better displays and better cameras. I think, even if it doesn't have a dual-core or quad-core processor, I'm okay with that because the performance is still excellent. And I think if a person uses a Windows Phone device, they're going to be like, oh, okay, this is just as good as my Android phone with a quad-core processor. So I'm not too worried about that. But better displays and better cameras, I think, are the things I would like to see. Did I miss anything about the Galaxy S3? No, we did not talk about the Galaxy S3. Wait, okay. Do you think there needs to be a lower-end Windows Phone like the 610? I mean, the pre-Mango devices are now standards in a mid-range category. I think I don't know if lower-end in terms of specs, because, they already have a hard time competing, but if it could be like a cheaper price, then yeah, sure, that would help. Okay, I'm done. None of my questions were answered. Oh, okay, I don't know if you noticed I have like 100 questions on the screen right now. Sydney, can you give 2 reasons to switch to each of the 4 major carriers? What? I don't... What? Okay, you want 2 reasons to switch to T-Mobile, to Verizon. Well, where are you switching from? Because that would really be the reasons. I mean, I could say T-Mobile or, Sprint has cheaper prices, but if you're switching from T-Mobile, I'd say T-Mobile probably has cheaper prices, so I'm not really sure how to answer that. What's your opinion on the new Nokia PureView Windows Phone? The hardware, I mean, it's kind of chunky because the camera is so huge, but, and obviously we don't know if that's final hardware or if it's even real, but, going in the right direction with a better camera, that's for sure. Do you dislike any particular OEM, or what's your favorite? Favorite OEM? Well, I've said before, I think the iPhone 4, iPhone 4S, I think that's the best looking phone. While I don't like iOS, I would love to have an iPhone with Android or Windows Phone. So probably, I guess, Apple. I think the iPhone is the best looking phone. Other than that, I'm not really extremely picky about hardware, although I do appreciate good hardware. If I see a phone that looks awesome, then I definitely want it. But like Samsung, I think Samsung devices look great. And I know a lot of people that don't like Samsung devices. I think HTC makes some great phones. Nokia, the Lumia 900, Lumia 800, those are great looking phones. LG, I guess LG would probably be my least favorite. I've never really liked an LG phone. I don't know what it is, but I just don't. If you were to go and buy an iPhone and iPad right now, what color would you buy each in? Well, I'd have to try, I'd have to use them for a while, because I do like the white ones. I do like the white models, but I'm inclined to say black. I think black is just classic. Worst Windows Phone. Okay, so I've seen this comment like a million times. Is this a question? Are you asking me what the worst Windows Phone is, or is this just a random statement? I'm not really sure. I'm guessing that you want to know what the worst Windows Phone is. The worst Windows Phone, really, all of them are like I said, they're all pretty much the same. But I guess like in terms of specs, um, probably something like the HTC Radar. I think the Lumia 710. What is the Lumia 710? Let me see specs. Lumia 710. The Lumia 710, no, that has a 1.4. Yeah, I mean, they're all really the same. I couldn't. They're all very equal. I mean, I guess the 610. Yeah, the 610 probably in terms of just straight up specs, probably the worst one. But, even then it's still probably a good phone because Microsoft is so strict with the hardware. Where is BlackBerry heading? I kind of already talked about that earlier. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. Sydney, do all carriers have either contracts on phones or no contracts? What about a carrier that puts tabs on their phones? If you haven't heard of tabs, ask. I haven't heard of tabs. Is there going to be a Lumia 1000 or are they going to change the name? I don't know. Good question. Would you ever buy an iPhone? Sure, I've actually seriously thought about buying an iPhone. I decided not to, which, by the way, is an update on that. I know I've mentioned in the past couple of episodes that I've thought about switching to an iPhone, to try it out. I've since decided not to. But, yeah, sure, I've thought about it, and I think I might in the future. Not necessarily because I think it's better, but just because I would like to try it out, see if I could use it as my personal device. What about the HTC Trophy on Verizon? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But that phone's like 2 years old, or a year old, so I mean, that's like saying that the worst Android phone right now is one that came out a year ago. I mean, obviously, yeah, because technology back then. Will we be seeing more Windows phones on Verizon? Maybe. Verizon is kind of, doesn't have a lot of faith in Microsoft right now. Sydney, okay. I just imported an HTC Vivid. How is it? Good. It's a great phone. Tabs are credits put on a phone, commonly $150. So $300 curve is $150. Every month, 10% of their phone plan, say $50, goes towards paying off the phone. T-Mobile has something like that, where you still pay full price for a phone like you would if you didn't have a contract. However, you don't pay all of that up front. You pay like $10 a month. So, and you're on contract. So, like, if you don't have a contract, you pay $600 for the phone straight up. If you do have a contract, you pay $200 and you have a contract. T-Mobile's plans is you have a contract, but you also pay full price, but you pay it over your 2-year period, so it's like $10 a month. Kind of seems like that's what you're talking about. So I guess, yeah, T-Mobile has a system like that. Oh, it's 5:10. Okay. Okay, we're done. It's over. It's 5:10. I'm going to answer one more question just because I was reading questions already. If you were going to change how to access the notifications in Android so that you could use the swiping from the top action for something else, what would you do to get the notifications? If I could use some other action for getting notifications. That is a good question. Maybe just like a button, like a shortcut on the dock or something, or maybe like a button down here. The only reason I think of that is because, like, right now, I use Windows Phone, but I also use an Android phone. Anyway, and so I use Launcher Pro, and I got rid of the notification panel because I like minimalistic, and so I got rid of it. So in order to bring it up, I have to push the menu button, and then I can, slide it down. So I think actually that would be a great idea if you could just have like a notification button where like you don't have to slide it down, but you just like push the button and then your notifications pop up. I think that would be nice. But I like the panel, so I don't think that's a bad idea. I just don't like having it up there all the time. It's just because I got used to Windows Phone where like, there's nothing. It's very clear and minimalistic, and I like that. So whenever I started using an Android phone as like my secondary device, I I was like, ugh, I don't like having the notification bar there all the time. It looks cluttered. It takes you out of the element of an OS. It's like this random bar that has stuff, and you're like, wait, I don't want that. I want Android. So anyway, okay, that's it. I'm done now. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my rants. If you missed anything, like I said, I'm going to have it on YouTube, so you can watch the recording of that. I'm glad everyone could be here. I'm sorry if I missed your question. You can send me a message on Twitter. My screen name is @phonedog_Sydney. And I'll try to answer your questions if I can, unless you send them to me at 1 o'clock in the morning, and in which case I will not respond to your message. I know it's not your fault, because I know you're probably in different parts of the world, and so, like, 2 a.m. my time is, noon your time, but I won't respond to your question, because I'm going to be asleep. Anyway, that's the show. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.